Hey guys, welcome to the Grow IT podcast. Your host here, Alessandro Cutri. Welcome today by Alex Paulus, the managing director over C&T management. We're gonna have an interesting episode today. We're actually gonna be diving into a little bit about Alex's story, how he got to where he is today, and really some engaging insights into the space. So definitely make sure to stick around. But without further ado, man, I'll kind of just go ahead and kick it on over to you, Alex, if you don't mind, kind of introducing yourself and telling the audience a quick snippet of your story and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, happy to. First of all, thank you for having me.
Of course, my man. Of course.
I mentioned my name, Alex Paulus. I am 40 years old, based here in Atlanta, Georgia. Originally, I am from Europe. I was born and raised in Vienna, in Austria, one of the most beautiful cities that you can imagine. And from an early age, I already was very interested in technology, and I started my education very much from the beginning, from what's the high school in Austria, with a technology-focused, computer-focused school, and earned my high school diploma there. And then after that, I was about 19 years old, I decided to start a university. I went to the UK and studied computer science there, my bachelor. And that was super exciting. It was the first time I lived outside of my hometown, not only diving deep into technology, but also immersing myself in a different culture. I never drank beer before I moved to the UK, and that changed definitely. And wow. I learned a lot about different cultures, and that's always something that when we talk a bit more about myself, you will see that goes throughout my career. I finished my bachelor degree in the UK and came back to Austria. Decided to pursue my master's degree in information systems, and that was really the first time that I had also interaction with ERP software. My specialty is SAP, which is an ERP, enterprise resource planning software, and that was the first time that I got in touch with it. And in parallel to my studies there, I also started to work. So I started my career as a SAP developer at an Austrian electricity company. And over time, I transitioned into different roles from a pure developer, more into technology consultant on the SAP side, then also into more business-focused roles, solution architect, and really grew a little bit away from the technology side of things and widened my horizon in the sense of focusing also more on business topic, business strategy, understanding processes within a business, change management, and so on. So that was really where I got my feet on the ground in the SAP world. And I moved to Germany. I was about 26. Love brought me to Germany, and I began my freelance career in Germany. Had some amazing projects there, and was a solution architect in the SAP space as well, and had the chance then to pivot into more project management roles, and was also then leading a couple of projects in Europe, then also in South America and in North America. And with all of those projects, I already was part of the C&T team, even that I was a freelancer. And in 2021, our CEO, he approached me and he asked me, "Hey, Alex, are you interested in moving to the US? Do you want to? We want to expand there, and we thought you would be the right person to start a business there." So that's what brought me here to the US. Starting here, a new company, no name recognition, no network, no US. So it was a very intense journey the last 3 years, but a very fulfilling one.
That's awesome, man. Quite the extensive background you have, and it's cool to see exactly how you've. Isn't it always like funny how like things will ebb and flow, and the journey that your life kind of takes you on to where you finally get to, in what you're doing right now. So that's definitely insightful stuff. I'm curious, man. What was it about? If you were rewind the clock a little bit, what was it about the technology that kind of sparked your interest to kind of go ahead and pursue a career in? Like, what was it that really kind of drove that?
Yeah, I really remember that when I was a teenager, one of my family members, my cousin, he always was in technology. He's a couple of years older than me. And there was a summer when I was like 12 or 13 years old, maybe. And we literally spent my whole summer holidays, which is quite extensive in Austria. It's 9 weeks in the summer. We spent the whole summer really building my computer, putting the stuff together. He taught me things about how a computer works, and that was really the first time I was exposed to a computer. Yeah, so that was 1995, around that time. So that was the time before everybody had a computer at home or in their hand. So that was, for me, it was like solving a puzzle. You put everything together, you try, things don't work, and then suddenly you make it work, and it's like boom! I was hooked on technology, and
You
exactly,
cut the bug.
exactly.
You cut the bug.
That was my first memory that I really have of that, and then I started to learn some programming languages and did that in my spare time. I never was a super nerd techie, but I always had like, it was fascinating for me to make things work out of thin air, to make things to solve a problem and to manipulate a system and to speak the language of the system. That was really really exciting for me. And when I built the bridge from there to today, my career has changed a little bit from a less technical focus on a more business focus. But really, the SAP space is really about marrying those two, making technology work for business and helping businesses to make use of technology to achieve a goal, to achieve revenue goals, to improve the business, and to transform. Digitalization is the word that everybody uses. So that's really what excites me about technology, how it can support the underlying needs of a business.
Yeah. And I think that's it's cool to see that progression, right? Where you start off more technological based, and then you start to move into business, but then you're also able to apply those insights that you learn from technology into the business side of things as well.
And that always helped me. Yeah. So I'm always can somehow rely on my technical experience, even that it's not up to date anymore that much as it was before. But I still can speak the language of people that are more technology focused, and I can speak the language of business people, and bringing those together and making sure they understand each other. That's part of what I've been doing in the last couple of years.
Yeah. And so, you've obviously been in the technology space for, 15, 20 years now, and you've kind of seen probably the ebbs and the flows and certain trends come and go. Like, what are you currently noticing right now in terms of, certain trends that are, coming up that are maybe piquing your attention?
Yeah, there's the obvious one that's probably everybody's talking about right now. AI is everywhere, and the SAP space is not different. SAP is releasing one AI solution after the other into the market, but the SAP space is also a slow-moving market when it comes to technology and to innovation. SAP historically is very much focused on large enterprises, and large enterprises move slow, right? The Titanic doesn't turn around very quick. And it's the same for enterprises when it comes to SAP. And before AI is even really a topic that people can start to think about implementing, a lot of companies still are making a big move on the SAP side from the legacy SAP systems that were used in the early 2000s to what's called SAP S/4HANA, which is the latest technology stack from SAP. And SAP is driving all of their customers to that new stack. And it's not just the upgrade. It's not just like pressing the button on your iPhone and you go from version iOS 15 to 16, but those are really...
it's not like you just restarted overnight and then it fixes it.
Exactly. So those projects take like 8, 10, 12, 15 months or even longer, depending on the complexity. And SAP is really trying also to minimize that complexity and to bring it down to a more graspable level. And SAP has released something that they call SAP S/4HANA Public Cloud. So S/4HANA is a cloud system as well, which is different to how it was in the past. And this public cloud offering is really targeted for smaller companies that have less need for change process adaptations. And they really want to make sure that also small companies can benefit from SAP, from the vast functionality that SAP offers, with a more streamlined implementation approach, a little bit less flexibility. And what I think is very interesting around that offering is companies that are planning to grow or companies that are planning to be probably a target of an acquisition in the future, they can now already be in an early stage of their development part of an SAP solution, which makes it much easier for an acquisition in the future to be integrated into a larger enterprise, because you're not bringing tons of legacy environments with you, and then your new owner has to deal with that. But you're already on SAP standard. You can easily move forward, and that's what I think is one of the biggest and most interesting topics right now that we have in the SAP space. And SAP is also targeting those customers now as a new.
Yeah, and I'm curious on that, Alex, because I think that kind of leads me where I wanted to go, where I was curious about, you know, some of the, if you had, for the audience that's obviously listening to this, that's tuned into the first time, that maybe never heard about CNT, management consulting. How are you guys thinking about these trends that are obviously happening in the SAP space, and how are you helping customers, maybe either migrate, or what are you guys doing from a holistic standpoint to be able to help your customer base?
So typically, the projects that we are doing today are S/4HANA projects. So the customers usually start either at an older version of SAP or of a non-ERP system, or maybe they have 3, 4 different systems that they are utilizing today because of acquisitions in the past. And somebody in the business or IT department then says, okay, we want to consolidate, we want to be future-proof, we want to move into the new S4 system, and then we come into play and we help our customers to understand what are their options to move from where they are to where they want to be, analyze with them their technical landscape, analyze with them their business landscape, so which business processes are relevant for that customer, how are those processes live today, are set up today, does the organization even understand the processes, or is everything more an ad hoc way of working? And then we set up a plan and accompany our customers in the implementation of SAP and of those new business processes. And our focus is really always business process and not technology. So we always understand ourselves as process consultants, even that we have a technical background, but we really want to make the technology support the business and not driving the business by having the business-driven technology.
Yeah, and that's what's most important, right? Because it's, you have to make sure that business outcomes are like, they're obviously that the technology isn't driving the business, but the business outcomes are what drives the technology protocols, right? And so it's important to be thinking through that lens, right, where it's not just, are we getting this technology for the sake of it, or are we getting this for the purpose of increasing operational efficiency, or increasing the way that we do things, or improving certain aspects. So I think it's an important point you touch on.
May point out that it's important, especially today. Everybody is trying to save money. Yeah, the economy is a little bit unclear where it goes, so nobody has some dollars lying around to make some investments on technology that doesn't really bring in ROI. And we try to point that out early in the process as well. What are the benefits? What are you getting when you move into SAP S/4HANA? And what is the ROI, and over what time we expect that you can earn that return on investment?
Yeah, and it's what you should be like. And I think maybe a lot of times, like, people are, in the technology space, are scared to bring up ROI, or they're like, hey, it's maybe harder to show ROI. But it's like, you still have to show some type of use case, or that business outcome that's going to be driven from this technology. Otherwise, why should they adopt it? Just because there's cooler features, right? Like, it doesn't really matter, right? You should be getting this so that you're able to either save more money, like you said, help your employees, improve their productivity, or just enhancing your overall, productivity, right, as an organization. So
exactly, and ROI can take different forms, right? Like you said, it can be
exactly.
Can be efficiency, can also be keeping your employees happy because they have an up-to-date user interface and they don't need to spend hours and hours to learn a software that feels like you're still in the 80s. So there's a lot of different ways to measure it, and we try to bring that holistic view also to the table.
Yeah. And so, I never like to look too far out, right, in terms of the future, because it's hard for me to see like 5 to 10 years. But the next 12 months, like, what's the vision for, yourself and kind of the, CNT and what you guys are currently building? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we have our vision. I would say from an internal perspective, we want to grow. Yeah, we are still new to the market here in the US. We try to open a lot of new doors and walk through them, getting our name out there. I think in the SAP space in the US is much bigger space than it is in Europe. Even that it's still a small space, I have the feeling I already start to see the same people when I go to conferences and building that network. But we are still the newcomer. We're still the new kid on the block, and that's what we are working on. So it's really about, first of all, doing good work. The reputation and word of mouth is the best way to make business in our field. Nobody is really taking a cold call for an SAP implementation, so you have to really showcase what it can do, and that's what we are about to do. And on the product implementation side, what I mentioned, the SAP S/4HANA Public Cloud, we are very recently certified by SAP as an implementation partner in the US for that product. So that's also something we're now very excited to be able not only to talk the game, but to also show that we can walk the walk, yeah, and make sure that also customers that haven't been previously prone to use SAP software because maybe of size or of complexity, now they have a chance to walk that way, and that we can accompany those customers along the way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exciting stuff, man. It sounds like you guys definitely got your hands full, and you got some big things to do ahead of you, which is always fun, right? And growth is always fun, right? Growth is there's never a dull day, as we both were just talking about. But I did want to ask you, man. No, in terms of, you've done a lot, throughout your career. You've obviously you've moved around. You've done some different positions. You've gotten a lot of experience, right? And now you're obviously the managing director over at CNT. Like, what would you say, in your opinion, is kind of the type of mindset that's really needed, to be that successful, managing director of a company, and what served you well?
I think the most important thing for me that when I look back, what served me well is adaptability in leadership. There's no day that looks the same. You always come with a day into your plan, and then something comes from somewhere, and you have to pivot, make a change in your plan of the day, make a quick decision, adjust the strategy, and it's a mix of keeping your long-term vision alive and making sure you're working towards those while firefighting the day-to-day problems. And I think that adaptability is key. Switching context very fast, being able to stay course, but also be able to help your team to remove the roadblocks for them so that they can do their best work.
It's a great point.
And
Yeah.
And to that point, also when I say team, team is probably the most second most important point, or maybe it's even the first the most important point, to be honest, because it's a team sport, and nobody is implementing SAP by themselves. We are always running projects with 20, 30, 40 people, so we all need to rely on each other, and building that team of motivated professionals and surrounding our team with people that are not only great in what they do, but also great people. That's really something that I have personally a very high focus on. And I think my team, I'm very proud of my team that I built here in the US. And that's something that served me also well, having that focus on team and relationship and working as a team.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, like you said, it's a team sport, right? You're not getting to anywhere you want to go. You're not building the business without a good team behind you. And so it's necessary to have that mindset, especially when it comes to, and I love the point that you brought up about the adaptability, right? Like, I think that is so important, because to your point, you're going to get thrown so much your way, like where you're having to go, from putting out a fire in terms of maybe employees, or, having to work with maybe clients, and then going to sales calls, and then, being dragged in here and being dragged in there. Like, there's so many different things that you're going to be dragged into, as you're, driving the business forward, that you need to be prepared to be able to handle. Right. And so, I think that's a great point, and not enough people when we talk about that, right? Because you're going to get pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah, and hearing you talk about it, it seems like you had a peek in my calendar today, because that was pretty much what went all day today. I was in the training, I was in sales calls, I was in escalation meetings, project meetings. So it was always something new, always something fun, and always keeps me on my toes.
Yeah, if it's anybody who can relate, it's me. I definitely get you. It's been a great conversation, man. It's been great getting the chance to kind of know you a little bit better, hear a little bit about your story, kind of, what you guys are doing over there at CNT. I always like to close out with, more of a loaded question, but if you had to maybe tell the audience a little bit about one or two things that you wish you maybe have avoid that you would have avoided during your career that you'd be willing to share kind of with the audience, saying like, hey, I if I were to go back, I would change these one or two things to get to where I am quicker, or any type of insights you can share in that perspective of what's maybe one of the two things you would avoid.
So I think the number one thing
It's a loaded question. Like
yeah,
I said,
yeah.
it's a loaded question.
I think the number one thing that comes to mind is the ignorance of being young. I think when you're young, or at least when I was young, I thought I know everything. I learned very fast that being humble is is a good skill to have, or a good way to live life. Because really, you never learn. You never stop learning. You never stop to adapt. And I learned very early in my career, for me at least, taking risks is something that works well for me. I always took a new position when I got the chance. I left my home country several times. I lived in 4 different countries. Took opportunities to travel the world, and not everybody has that motivation to do that. But it served me very well, and I think it's something that I would recommend everybody to rethink and take the chances that life gives you, because there's nothing as such as luck, right? There's no luck in my opinion. It's only giving yourself opportunities that luck can find you, and that's what you have to do in life and in your career as well.
You create your own luck, right? You create your own fortune. I'm a firm believer in that as well, right? Like I think that's you know something that you put out in the universe, and as you continue to kind of take those opportunities, as you continue to try new things, you're going to have things that fall your way just as a byproduct of it, right? And so
Absolutely.
I think that that's a great point. I think that that's the probably the perfect place to end. Alex, thanks for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure. If people are listening to this, they want to check out yourself, or like what you guys are doing over there at CNT. What are some good ways to find you guys?
So we are online at www.cnt-online.com. You find me on LinkedIn, Alexander Paulus. You find CNT on LinkedIn. I'm always glad when people contact me on LinkedIn, because I always have the feeling that I contact everybody to widen my network in the US. So looking forward to have some interesting conversations and getting to know some people here in the US and widen my network as well.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include those links in the description so they can come and check you out. I do recommend you guys go check out Alex and the team. It sounds like they're definitely doing something special, and they're up and coming within the U.S., which is great stuff. If you guys did make it all the way to the end, though, we do appreciate it if you could like, comment, and subscribe for more content. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks again, Alex, for hopping on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.